So this, the Pure Fighting Vanguard. The Pure Fighting Vanguard has some benefits over another build which I did, which is a Barbarian, 2-splash Barbarian for Blood Tribute Vanguard. But we're pushing a little bit more into the tactical DCs and into into damage and applying a ton of. Let me reset that. Lost my train of thought. I need to be focused on that. Okay. While I was building the Barbarian Vanguard, which splashes 2 Barb into this build, for Blood Tribute for more sustained, which helps early game farming work out really well, this build is going to focus more on end game content. It's going to get a little bit more CC available, a little bit more damage potential, and hopefully be a bit more min-max towards that endgame. I've played a Barbarian Vanguard, which focused on more on the Barb side of things in previous seasons, completed everything with ease. It was great. And so harkening back to my experience of that, this is, I'm getting a really good feeling about this build. Some of its strengths is that we're using Bastard Swords, which allow us their hand-and-a-half weapons, so we can still use the 2-handed fighting feat line for strike through, as well as having both Cleave, Great Cleave, and Whirlwind, giving us some more synergies elsewhere. Freeze. Shield Bashing augments our single target DPS, and we're able to apply that much more with our cleave damage and strike through damage on one side, and then our shield bashing single target on the other. We have really strong defenses with heavy armor, heavy shields, a shield mastery feat line, and defensive feat from fighter stuff, giving us a ton of defenses. We have multiple CC abilities, whether it's Trip, Stunning Shield, Stunning Blow. Lots and lots available to lock down enemies with a single target boss, orange name, high value target, or a group of mobs. And then we have Burst Healing with Second Wind, which will heal 50% of our heat, allowing us to stay in the fight and be a little self-reliant and not have to have a healer pocket all the time. Some of the weaknesses, we are only relying on Second Wind and damage mitigation to stay alive. So if we run out of charges, we're going to have to really prioritize getting a shrine and balancing our charge use in quests. We're pretty reliant on the main hand weapon and shield. If we have a good shield and not a main hand weapon, we're going to feel our AoE start to slow down. If we have a good main hand weapon, not a good shield, our single target will start to slow down. So we're really trying to balance or keep both of those as best as possible. Being pure fighter, we have a ton of feats to keep track of, and keeping them in a specific order is very, very important for the first breakpoints in the build on when we get a lot of our power. And then we have limited range options, not as much as other times, because we have some gap closing abilities, but not an insane amount of ranged. With that, go into enhancements. Hey, Lardo. So we're balancing enhancements in a couple different ways. We're the top of the Kenzai tree, but we're the capstone with the Vanguard tree. Capstone with Kenzai is okay, but not that insane. Capstone with Vanguard, on the other hand, continues to give us more damage W, and still gives double strike, attack speed, all that good stuff. With that being said, the tier 5 of the Vanguard tree doesn't give us a ton. We already get a lot of this elsewhere. And the tier 5 of the Kenzai tree does give us a lot. It gives us some really big Ws, some big damage, which works out very nicely. So while leveling, we're balancing between the two trees pretty aggressively, getting haste boost early, and then committing pretty heavily into the Vanguard tree for some extra Ws. But then once we hit level 12, we want to jump to the top of the Kenzai tree, get a bunch of big W attacks, big damage attacks, our competence bonus to HP, our crit damage, our core here, gives us our weapons just in general multipliers, which is really good for a longer or bigger crit threat range shield. So good balance in between the trees. It gives us nice little tactical DCs for later in the game. And just going back and forth. Early game, a little bit into Kenzai, mostly Vanguard. Mid game, mostly into Kenzai, and then start filling into the Vanguard tree back out, especially once you hit 20 and can pick up the Vanguard capstone. With that, going into the EDs, we're making heavy use of Divine Crusader and Fear of the Wilds. Divine Crusader's big thing is getting double strike on your shield. Now that will enhance your shield's damage by a ton, as well as applying Vuln and on your favored weapons for both. And we're getting favored weapon on our Bastard Sword and our shield with these 2 points in the tree. So we get bonus W on both of them. We get bonus enhancement bonus on both of them. It's going to work out very, very nicely. We're also getting smites so we can go Mighty Crusade, proccing the Crusade buff, which gives us 10% damage. And we're not using the concentration or consecration ability. And we don't use that because we get so much more value out of Adrenaline, dealing a ridiculous amount of damage with our shield, with our main hand, and going up and scaling that. It's going to deal a lot more damage here, but we don't like the Mantle and Fear of the Wilds doesn't give us our extra W, doesn't give us our extra enhancement bonus. So getting the best of both worlds with the Mantle from Divine Crusader and the active ability from Fury. We also have a couple things. So the top of Divine Crusader is whenever we're sundering, we get bonus damage applied, which is fantastic. And then the top of Fear of the Wilds is whenever we're tripping or whirlwinding, which we have both, we're dealing bonus bludgeoning damage. And then also, we want to eventually get improved trip, whether through a feat, drop Great Cleave, lots of different options. Then we can apply a big CC to all enemies. It's going to work out great. I'm really looking forward to that enhancement line and trying to balance these around. We're augmenting our AoE damage and a single target damage and our single target CC. We're heavily committed into our DCs. 125 on our shield bash. Just on whenever we're bashing, 10% of the time we're doing 109 DC stun. We have stunning blow with a 93 for DC. We have trip with a just about at 80. Our sunder is 86. So lots of DCs going on with our tactical abilities. And with that, let's actually look at some of the tactical abilities going on in our feats. So we're balancing a lot. There's a ton of feats that we have, and I've made some concessions. I've got some things a little extra based off of what I think is going to be fun leveling up and what I think is going to be powerful in endgame. So right away, two-handed fighting feat line is going to be great for our hand-and-a-half weapons. It applies to bastard swords and gives us strike through, so it'll help our AoE. Next up, we're going to get Whirlwind and Spring Attack at 4. Spring Attack will help just speed things up, keep us pretty mobile. It'll be really fun. And then Whirlwind, big AoE damage, everything around us. Fantastic. Big fan of Whirlwind. And like we talked about, we'll scale with the Fury of the Wild Tier 4 or Core 4. Getting basic things, improve crit slashing. And then we get our weapons focus a little bit later. We don't need the Kenzai trees, or the Kenzai heavy blades as much. A little bit of damage. We're going to focus mostly on Vanguard until we hit level 12, and then pivot to the top of the Kenzai tree. Improve shield bashing. Keep our shield bashes going. It applies Vuln. It does a bunch of damage. Half of our double strike goes to it. And then power attack, cleave, great cleave for big W attacks. And then we're taking shield mastery at the end here, because at level 31, we're going to get shield mastery speciality to get all the shield mastery feats for free. But we still need shield mastery 1 to get perfect shield mastery, which gives us our shield an extra W and a little more PRR for ourselves. Going in the list, we get power crit. We get bonus power crit with Purge the Wicked, giving us a bunch of crit confirm, which helps our adrenaline. Perfect two-handed continues to increase our strike through, melee damage, and this one I do believe applies to I don't know. I'm actually not 100% sure if it applies to Bastard Swords or not. It doesn't have the same caveat as two-handed fighting, where it does not include Bastard Sword or Dwarven Axes. We'll see. Tactical Supremacy, plus 8 to all attack DCs, fantastic. Crush the Weakness, because we're going to be stunning, knocking things down. You know, we have 3 different stuns. Crush the Weakness seems very powerful. And then level 30, grabbing Stunning Blow, just to round it all off, along with Scion of Barborea for enhancement bonus to your weapons and range power, or melee power, apologies. With that, looking at our gearing, going the Devil's Infernal Dance, ability scores, double strike, fort bypass, melee power, all fantastic. And then only 4 pieces of the Forbidden Knowledge. We're giving up profane, 15 profane melee power, which is a-okay, to get profane PRR, profane ability scores, and profane attack damage. Looking at our weapons, Dino Bone Bastard Sword can go the Reliquary until you get that going. Dino Bone does a little bit less damage, but then has way better abilities over here. Exceptional Strength. Affirmation on Hardcore is very powerful, keeping up 1,000 temp HP. Very good, especially for this build where we don't have other temp HP. If this Acid dot applies, it'd be really nice. Just keeping that up and going with how much Double Strike we'll have. If not, then just going the Lightning, the Spark is terrible either. Spark of Fire for good bypass. Actually, we have bypass elsewhere in the Divine Crusader tree, so we don't really need that. Looking at the gear itself. Oh, sorry. Shield. Generally a throwaway, but in this case, we have best defense, our best shield. It has an enhanced crit threat range as well as impact and Sovereign Vorpal, keeping it competitive. And shield bashing to keep going up, a little bit of fire damage. Be nice to get the breaking wall from Fire Over Morgredrave. We'll see if we end up doing that on hardcore. But not holding your breath. Best defense is the next best from there. Up next to the actual gear, we have an armor piece with a Sapphire of Defense. You can still augment. You can drop Stunning and go. Oh, sorry, you can drop Heal Amp. No, it is Stunning to get MRR here, or you can swap this. You can lose Freedom of Movement to go over to Spell Swords to get your MRR if you don't want to use a Sapphire of Defense. But this gives Fortification, Freedom of Movement, little saves. The Black Earth TOE goggles, Quality Con, PRR, so you can go the MRR on your chest piece. False Life, so you don't have to augment it. The Lost Purpose Helm for our set, giving Deadly, Accuracy, Arm Piercing Seeker. Great value, make use of everything. The Necklace for our Profane Life bonus, Insightful PRR. And we're a half orc, otherwise we would use the Repair Amp. You can still go Warforged and be a-okay, so use Repair Amp if you want. The Legendary Bone Figurine gives us Quality Strength, Double Strike, Insightful Seeker, keeping our Seeker up high for our Adrenaline. Big chunks of damage. And then getting our Double Strike up. The last piece of our Lost Purpose, giving us our Quality, Deadly, Accuracy, and Insightful Armor Piercing, and Insightful Double Strike, ton of value. We were stacking Double Strike here, Insightful Double Strike here, but we get our Insightful Deadly. It's nice that because we don't have Trance. Our main strength, and then Caneth Combat Infusion. We're attacking so much that ideally we'll be able to keep Caneth Combat Infusion for the extra 4 strength to con up a lot. Our ring is the Ring of Unbridled Might. We already have Quality Con, or Quality Strength, sorry, but this gives Insightful Shatter, Stunnering, and Accuracy. We don't really need the accuracy. We have a ton of 2-hit, but having the extra Stunning and Shatter is nice. Insightful MRR Gloves, as well as our Forbidden set. Insightful Strength Gloves, Quality Combat Mastery, Speed Die Hard. Great stuff. Die Hard for hardcore. And it also gives us our Forbidden set. Dino Bone Ring gives us our main con, our Healing Amp, which can be swapped to anything you want. It was Deception or a little bit modus damage, Seeker, or Deadly if you end up going Warforged. This is where our main Stunning comes from. And our Reckless Fury for more damage. And Sapphire, Aug, Shatter, and Vertigo for Trip and Sunder DCs if you so choose. And Bloodbark Bracers, which give us Improved Deception to make mobs susceptible to sneak attacks. Speed, great. Quality Double Strike, fantastic. Raging Strength. But we're a pure fighter. The thing that I'm looking to do is put 1 point in I'm Always Angry, giving us the Barb Rage feat. And then 3 points in Eternal Rage, where if we're out of rage charges, we have a 3% chance on hit to gain a rage charge. And because we're attacking so much with our offhand or double strike, our shield, our main hand, and our double strike, we're trying to keep that up as much as possible. And always have a rage stack for us, because the rage is going to be pretty tight, but while they're up, we're getting an insane amount, +7 strength, a lot there. One clicky to make note of is the Severed Tentacle, giving us 5 charges of Titan's Grip, which is a +6 bonus to strength. So that is very nice, very nice. It does not stack with our Power Surge, but sometimes our Power Surge will be down. With that, look at their stances right fast. So we are being raged, counting as rage. We're in our Holy Mantle, Power Attack, our Power Surge going. Again, insane DCs on all of our tacticals. And we're going to have a ton of strength. This will help out with our tacticals as well. Ton of strength, fair amount of con. This build is more focused on being in a group at endgame and just applying a lot of damage. So we're trading a little bit of strength, a little bit of constitution, staying power, our blood tribute for more uptime and a little burst healing if we need. Our saves, main thing we'd focus on is fortitude. We'll have freedom of movement for our will saves, so we'll be fine there. Our HP, we're looking at 2300 HP, which is a fair amount for how offensive the build is going to be. Just about 200 PRR for 66% reduced damage. Lower MRR for sure, but we have so much temp HP with affirmation if we get that going, and then just a raw HP pool that having 40% MRR is enough. It scales with diminishing returns. So the more we get here, we're not going to get actually that much more. We're about 10% off of like a very good spot to be in, which I think is a good trade-off to be for an endgame build, endgame offensive build. Here we're looking at about 65% double strike. This bumps up to 70% with Kinetic Combat Infusion, and then up to 100% with Reaper Strikes. So that's where we want to be. Half of that is going to get put into our shield. So our shield can have 50% double strike, which is very, very nice. Our melee power, 224. Very respectable for a pure fighter, not scaling that an insane amount. We have an 85% secondary, our shield bash chance, so we're pretty much always proccing that whenever we're swinging, keeping that on cooldown. And then 175 strike through will make it so we're always cleaving targets, as well as our cleave, our great cleave, and our whirlwind. Next up is both of our weapons, which we have a bunch of W on both of our weapons. 6.25 on our primary, 6.75, and I think we're missing one on both of these, so it should be 7.25, 7.75 on our shield and primary respectively. Our 2 hit is massive, 140 for each. Fantastic. Big damage bonus, 133 and 172. And then huge crit confirm, 140, or crit damage, 144 and 132 as well. So whenever we're critting on these, which we have a 16 through 20 on our primary and a 15 through 20 on our offhand, we're doing very, very big damage. A little bit lower multi on our primary, but still good multi on our offhand as well. Also a very enhanced attack speed due to our combat styles in the Vanguard tree. Fantastic. That's the pure Vanguard build. Really looking forward to trying it and giving it a go at endgame.